Liza? Oh. No. We still have time.
Oh, good candy, okay. Oh, remember that when you get your hamburger and hot dog, okay? It's okay. She was one of my favorite counselors.
Council President? No.
So, so we know, so,
Good evening and welcome to the Lawrence City Council special meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Act of 2022, this meeting will be hybrid, allowing participation both in person and at the City Council chambers, as well as remotely. Anybody that requests the Zoom link was sent it to. This meeting might also be viewed through the different platform for the Lawrence City Council. The Lawrence City Council Facebook page, as well as the Lawrence City Council YouTube page. Roll call, please.
Councilor Anna Levy.
Present.
Councilor LaPlante.
Present.
Councilor Luzon.
Present.
Councilor Del Rosario is noted as absent. Councilor Santiago, noted as absent. Councilor Mammal.
present.
Councilor Reyes is noted as absent. Council Vice President Infante.
Present.
Council President Rodriguez.
Present. Please join me for a moment of silence pursuing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is no public hearing today. If council would like to open public participation, I'm willing to entertain a motion at any point of the meeting. Communication, there is no communication from the mayor or city official or the city attorney.
Public participation?
Do you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to allow public participation.
Second.
There is a motion to allow public participation discussion. Properly second discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it. Anybody that would like to speak that is in the public today? Please refer to the council as a whole, not as an individual councilors. You have 2.5 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, you're gonna hear a beep indicating the 30 minutes left.
Good
Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Richard Russell, 34 Cross Street, Lawrence. I've given each of you councilors a copy of these questions just in case I'm not going to be allowed to ask them, but I'm going to skip over some of it. My rationale in wanting these questions asked is due to the fact I have worked in and around the land industry since the mid-'60s, and this work has been from southern Maine down to parts of Maryland, and I have seen all sorts of political chicanery at work. I only want what's best for the citizens of Lawrence, not just a few insiders. If given the chance, I want the council, thank the council for the opportunity to ask these questions, and I hope that you people will also ask these questions, as city officials have a bad track history in answering public citizens. You people, they do answer the questions. When in the past has the LRA done any extensive work regarding property in the city? The second question is, why is it imperative that this land grab be done right now? Why must all of these parcels be taken at once? Wouldn't it be better if these parcels were doled out several at a time to make sure the developers and the LRA are both capable of following through with their proposed plans? With the rate of inflation regarding property, the value of these properties is only going to increase in the future. Is there any truth to the rumor that these parcels of land have already been allocated to various individuals? And if so, who are these individuals? And have these individuals been vetted to make sure they have no connection to any city or LRA officials? I'm sure there will be other questions raised by what I consider this land grab. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else that would like to speak today? Anybody else that would like to express their comments today? All right, at this point, public participation is now closed. We'll proceed with the table matters. Councilors, can I get a motion to untable matter 38223, which is the transfer of the real estate properties from the city of Lawrence to the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority? Can I hear a second?
Second.
Properly second discussion. I hear none at this point. I call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes? The ayes have it. Councilors, we have an item in front of us, which is the item 38223, the transfer of real estate properties from the city of Lawrence to the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority. Madam Clerk, there is an underlying motion for this.
Yes, Council President, there was a motion made by Councilor Reyes, seconded by Councilor Del Rosario, on October 17th to approve the transfer of all 10 parcels of land. There's no vote on that motion, though.
All right. Councilors, we have an underlying motion that we can open for discussion. At this point, Councilor, I would like to acknowledge the chair of the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority, Eric Walker. He's here with us. I would like to open the floor for him so he can introduce the LRA and other members as well.
Good evening, City Councilors, Council President. My name is Eric Walker. I'm the chairperson of the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority. We have been working with the existing redevelopment plan to begin to market these properties for development according to the plan. We have Mr. Karras here to go over the plan. He is with Santec. He is our are basically been working on the plan to come up with a comprehensive plan for these properties in the city.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Councilors, we have this special meeting today because a few councilors request to have a special meeting to go over the urban renewal plan. They, councilors, you receive a package with the vote, and I sent over the urban renewal plan back then that the council took adopt in 2016, in December of 2016. At this point, councilors, we are here to entertain and allow an opportunity for the LRA to go over the plan, to refresh people's mind about what we have, what the city of Lawrence adopts through a vote of the city council.
Sir, if I may, I misspoke, Mr. Karras, with Karras Community Investment. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
So we have members of the LRA that I would like to allow them, if they would like to speak, introduce themselves to this board. You're welcome to. In the meantime, councilors, we could entertain the presentation that Mr. Karras have for the board, for the city council in regard to the urban renewal plan. By all means, we can proceed. She's right behind it. Anna.
Council President,
Madam Vice Chair,
Thank you.
Madam Vice President.
through you, I just,
Uy,
for
uy,
any
uy.
few,
Not the whole thing.
for any future meetings, and this goes, and I always say this when we don't have physical copies, in the future, if you can provide a copy to our city clerk so she can print it out and provide copies for us. As I listen, I like to make notes, I like to go back and all of that, so it's just helpful. So just in the future, ensure that we have that.
Sure. Mr. Karras, by all means.
Thank you, Council President, and to esteemed city councilors and city staff and residents of Lawrence that are here tonight. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is James Karras, and I am principal of Karras Community Investment, a consulting firm in community and economic development. Later on in the presentation, I'll detail a little bit more about my experience and my role in redevelopment, both here in Massachusetts and other states around the country. Next slide, please. So tonight, what I'm going to do is present a very brief introduction in terms of what the state law is in terms of redevelopment and some of the statutory requirements. Second is have a brief discussion and overview of the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan. Third is to talk about changing those plans or amending that plan and what it takes to do so, and what the LRA has undertaken so far relative to that change of the plan. And then finally is to look at moving forward. And moving forward is a need to update the plan. And updating that plan will require not a minor change or amendment, but a major change and amendment. And I want to go through what that process is in terms of those changes, the difference between minor change and amendments and major changes and amendments. And I will detail a little bit about a downtown action plan that we're proposing to undertake. So the Massachusetts Urban Redevelopment Law is based on Chapter 121B, and its purpose is to address substandard, decadent, or blighted open areas, and it allows cities and towns in Massachusetts to create redevelopment authorities. And the role of these redevelopment authorities is to acquire land, plan, and oversee redevelopment projects. And the responsibilities of these redevelopment authorities, they must prepare and implement urban renewal plans approved by local government. and I've picked out the things that are most germane to our discussion tonight. Redevelopment authorities must prepare and implement urban renewal plans approved by local government and the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. Today, it's the Office of Housing and all of a sudden I forget the new name, but it's effectively it's the Office of Housing for the Commonwealth. And the types of projects the urban redevelopment authorities take, they focus on residential projects, commercial projects, and mixed-use developments. And there's an emphasis on eliminating blight, and this is within the legislation, increasing tax revenue, and improving quality of life. I was born in Boston and grew up there and educated, and much of my life has been in the city of Boston. And when I was growing up, all I heard was about the Boston Redevelopment Authority, the BRA. So I was, early on, I knew the important role that urban redevelopment took place in the city that I'm from. And from there, I made a career out of working in redevelopment and implementing redevelopment plans. And implementing urban renewal plans is critical. And this is one of the key themes that I want to mention, focus on tonight, is the implementation of urban renewal plans. And they must have, urban renewal plans must have specific redevelopment goals. If you could put the next slide, please. Thank you. Urban renewal plans must have specific redevelopment goals. They must have financial plans, and they must have timelines. These are endemic to all urban renewal plans in the Commonwealth. And second, there must be robust community involvement, including public hearings and consultations are required to produce that plan. And there are economic and social implications of these urban renewal plans in dealing with issues around economic revitalization that results in infrastructure improvements and new development. But there are also social implications of development, as we well know. And these social implications include displacement and gentrification. And we must look, and urban renewal plans have to look at how do you mitigate issues around gentrification, the negative impacts of gentrification, which are around displacement. Next slide is the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority and its urban renewal plan. The LRA was created as a public entity by the city of Lawrence in 1958. And the urban renewal plan that is currently in effect was approved by the Commonwealth in May of 2017. And what you see on the slide, on this particular slide, is the outline of the boundaries of the urban renewal plan. And the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan identifies action steps that the LRA, the Redevelopment Authority, and other public and private partners can take to advance 4 key goals. Those goals include economic development, job creation, improved quality of life, and fiscal stability. There were over 40 meetings that were held with the public, and over 400 people were involved in the planning process of the urban renewal plan that's in existence today. And ultimately, the urban renewal plan created a vision. And that vision is creating a thriving local economy in which residents have access to new employment opportunities and higher paying jobs, enabling them to afford better housing and more goods and services within the city. And keeping in mind that vision statement is really important, because everything within the plan is meant to how do we achieve this vision. And in the urban renewal plan, it outlines 8 key strategies. And I'm not going to go through each one of these strategies, but you can see the percentage of people who were involved with the process that felt that creating an attractive environment for walking and improving public safety, incentivize and accelerate development of large vacant parcels for light manufacturing, healthcare, education, and mixed-use development. Bolster the city's arts and cultural assets and attract visitors to Lawrence. Preserve, protect, and enhance the city's historic buildings. Support the expansion of small businesses that generate jobs and build total local wealth. Activate Essex Street. Encourage sustainable development through new renewable energy, and create linkage mechanisms that capture the value of new development for citywide quality of its improvements. So where are we today? This Lawrence Renewal Plan, the process began in 2014, 10 years ago. And the plan was finally approved in 2017. So it's been in effect now for over 7 years. And the implementation results in 2024. And I purposely put in these question marks. And that's an issue of discussion. But in my observation, and since working with the LRA since last summer, I have read and reread and read and reread the Urban Renewal Plan, and I keep asking the questions of what has been implemented. And I have not found much evidence in terms of implementation of the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan. In the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority, the mayor reactivated the Redevelopment Authority. In effect, it was dormant and had not been acting. And currently, the Redevelopment Authority is focused on implementing the plan where feasible and relevant. And two, is to identify sections of the plan that need to be updated. I think we could all agree that any plan that is now going on 8 years and that was put together beginning 10 years ago needs to be updated and needs to be taken a look at. So the process of changing the plan is critical to understand what that process is. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, I keep forgetting the livable communities part. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, the new name of the agency that's responsible for urban redevelopment, it reviews any application for any changes to the plan. So the LRA, if it wants to do anything that is not in the plan, must go to the Commonwealth, to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, and ask for permission to do so. And it must put it in an application. That office will then comment whether it is a minor change or a major change. We have not, the LRA has not officially submitted any requests for changes at this point. However, the mayor has identified, as you well know, 12 city-owned underperforming properties. And upon the transfer of these properties from the city to the LRA, it will request from the state a minor amendment identifying the 12 city-owned properties within the existing urban renewal area for transfer to LRA and disposition for development. I believe, and also the consultants that work with me, Stantec, and I'll introduce through this presentation their role in the work that we've been doing for LRA. We strongly believe that a transfer of these properties, these specific properties, do not require a major amendment, but require a minor amendment. Initial review by the state, because we asked them to review our potential requests, is indicated they have not made a determination whether it's minor or major, but they asked for some clarifying questions. We will be responding to those, and we believe that the transfer of these properties will be a minor amendment. These parcels that have been identified are vacant lots, and they're currently used as surface parking. Transfer to the LRA and disposition by the LRA will provide the maximum opportunity for privately financed urban revitalization consistent with the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan. right? Any development that takes place on these must be consistent with what you have approved, what the city has approved, what the Commonwealth has approved, is the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan. The LRA has issued a non-binding request for letters of interest, an RLI, to gauge market interest in the properties for redevelopment. And that was issued, and I think it believed that it's in early June that any responses. It's non-binding. It's testing the market. This is what redevelopment authorities do, is that they can put RFPs, a specific proposal, or it can say, we're interested in what the private market has an interest in these properties. And then once we get these letters of interest back from the private market, assuming that there are interests, and we believe there is, a Citizens Advisory Council will be named by the LRA, by the mayor, and by you, the city council, to review all proposed uses. It's very similar to the 25-member Community Advisory Council, Citizens Advisory Council, that was created to provide the input on the urban renewal plan. All we're doing is mimicking what has already been done in terms of community participation in the process. So again, I want to make it clear, is that what the LRA has done is issued a request for letters of interest, non-binding, for the private sector to respond and say, on such and such a lot, I envision doing the following type of development. And here's our capability to do so, all right? And so once we receive all of that, in terms of the 12 properties, a Citizens Advisory Council, along with staff, will review all of these proposals and then make recommendations to the LRA for the next step for development. So that's the minor amendment process, all right? And again, it is dealing with what's in the plan. Major amendments are things like if we want to change the boundary, all right? We want to expand the LRA boundary. That's a major amendment, all right? And other things that are not already in the plan that you want to introduce, something new, is considered a major amendment. And therefore, if a major amendment takes place, it's repeating the process that you went through 7, 8 years ago. And that process was community input, analysis, city council hearings, city council approval. So major amendments involves very actively the city council and the public. And we believe that this plan needs to be updated. It is well past the time of in terms of needing the update for this plan. It's dated, right? A lot has changed over the last few years, and certainly the pandemic, and we're now in the post-pandemic recovery. It's been an uneven recovery, as we well know. Some have benefited, many have not, particularly in this community, but it has changed the market dynamics tremendously. Construction costs are significantly higher than what was envisioned 7 or 8 years ago. Doing development is much more challenging. And we believe that not just on a local level, but on a state level, and through this current administration in the legislature and in Washington, there's greater emphasis on affordability, affordable housing, not just low income, but all the way through the workforce is an important issue. Second, transit-oriented development and dealing with the fact that you are an MBTA community, and as you well know, the Commonwealth has passed a law that requires a certain percentage of affordable housing around transit stations. Third, issues around equity. And this is something that personally and professionally is important to me. It's my fundamental value. I've spent my life and career dealing with issues around racial equity, and particularly this community is intent on addressing and making sure that any development that takes place focuses on equitable impact and equitable results. Fourth is sustainability. As we recognize the changes, the dramatic changes that are taking place because of climate change, and the need for us to think in a sustainable way of any future development. And then finally, and probably what's most important to the citizens of Lawrence, is economic prosperity. And economic prosperity, not just for the city as a whole, increasing property tax revenues, but economic prosperity for the individuals, every household and families that live here in Lawrence. So we believe that this plan needs to be updated through the lenses that I had just outlined, is to focus on those. And in order to do this, it would be a detailed planning process that would take 6 to 8 months, and it would involve a Citizens Advisory Council, it would involve public hearings, and also would involve your determining and approving any plan changes before they're submitted. So the substantive implementation of this plan, we need to have an updated plan, and we need to have the active involvement in the community and the city council as well. So let me back up a little bit in terms of some context, what we're seeing nationally. As you well know, the Lawrence urban renewal area is primarily your downtown. And what we're seeing nationally in terms of what's happened to downtowns across the country post-pandemic, and they've been facing a decline. Many of you go into Boston and you see what's happened in downtown Crossing in the financial district. You know, people describe it, geez, it's really dead down here. If you go to New York City, you see the impact it's had. San Francisco, the tremendous impact that it's had. So we know that downtowns are facing a long-term decline unless there are new strategies, and that's why we believe a new plan, an updated plan is necessary. Without a robust, aggressive downtown economy, it leaves the city and the region without an essential engine to draw knowledge and innovation talent, jobs, and investment. Whether you listen to employees or managers, office space will not drive downtown growth for years. All right, focusing and chasing after companies to move in their offices is not to say not to do that, but the previous plan has a lot of emphasis on that. We know that more and more employees, 55% of employees, prefer working remotely at least 3 days a week. And 68% of executives think employees should be in the office at least 3 days a week to maintain a strong company culture. Therefore, again, creating these robust, mixed-use, walkable places, in other words, a new downtown, a new version of downtown, whether it's Lawrence or other downtowns across the country, is critical. And these knowledge information, this younger generation, and at my age, everybody's younger, but the younger generation, if you will, is focusing on technology and innovation. And this, if you have that urban tech environment, you will see private sector investment that will follow. You know, when I was growing up, and I don't think anybody here may necessarily remembers this from the 50s, but this is the imagery that we saw in our version of social media, which was television. And this was the kind of image of America. You know, the 2 children, 3 children households, and predominantly white, both parents living at home. Our image has changed dramatically. And that image today is of single-parent households, households without children, without partners, or certainly this generation, this millennial generation, as the census likes to call it, has avoided household formation. In other words, another way is to say getting married and having children. And so we're increasingly seeing downtowns that are much more attractive to these, the reality of these demographics. And part of this can hold true for Lawrence as well in terms of focusing on renewal in its downtown. It's not to say that housing shouldn't be provided for families, absolutely not, that's not the case. But the reality is that the future economic success is going to rest on partly addressing the needs of these types of households and the demographic changes that we've seen dramatically in the United States. And finally, place matters more than ever, is that this generation, if you will, these younger residents, and even older residents, if you will, are seeking what we call the 5-minute mixed-use walkable environment, where you're able to walk in terms of restaurants, coffee shops, parks, open space, working out, all of those things. If you can provide that within a 5-minute walking area, you're going to see investment that will be following. Lawrence has that DNA in terms of its downtown, of its urban renewal area, to be a 5-minute mixed-use walkable environment, including the fact that it has a significant transit stop, the MBTA commuter rail. And these 5-minute downtowns start with housing. And housing provides the critical mass of people that are necessary to create the coffee shops, to create the shopping and the arts and the microbreweries that we see, which attract and retain talent, because those are the things that this generation is looking to have and is necessary. And when you provide that type of environment, you create innovation and jobs and investment in the downtown, and in turn unlocks local and regional economic growth and creates jobs across the skills spectrum. And it can benefit everyone in the community. And finally, housing and mixed-use walkable spaces creates significant economic value in terms of for sale housing, multifamily housing, and mixed-use housing and office retail. And I want to end by saying that what is key here with all of this, though, is equity, inclusivity. It is not just enough to create a plan for downtown that is economically driven in terms of the economic benefits for the city, for developers, and for others. But we need to look at a plan that focuses every decision that is made on sharing the benefits of the expanded downtown opportunities, which result in workforce readiness, workforce training, mixed income neighborhoods, as well as entrepreneurship and small business ownership. And finally, as well as home ownership is a critical ingredient of this. So an updated downtown Lawrence, if you will, action strategy in implementation plan, which we were proposing, and for the LRA to conduct, would be a major amendment to this urban renewal plan. And within this plan, we would create an expanded vision. We would look at the current economy, the existing situation and outlook. What has changed in the last 10 years since we've done planning for downtown? What's the recent and ongoing development that's been there? What's the potential for future growth and development? And what are the recommended next steps? And what I emphasize, implementation, implementation, and implementation. What good is planning if it's going to sit on a shelf and nothing is done with it? And so we really emphasize, how does this recipe get cooked, if you will, and we produce this. And this implementation is typically driven by money, by capital, funding and financing. So the plan we're proposing would be focusing on equity, inclusion, and would be focusing on implementation of the vision and the specific outcomes, and it would focus on how do we get this paid for and do that. So bear with me, I'm going to close it by just telling you a little bit of who I am and my firm that's been working with the LRA now for 9 or 10 months. I've been in business as a consultant for over 35 years. We've worked in 38 states, 120 communities, and 500 clients, over 500 clients. I've also, for 40 years, been an educator, and for the past 10 years, I've been teaching at Harvard. I teach a course on equitable development and housing policy, and previously taught at MIT, Tufts University, and Florida Atlantic University. I've taught 60 graduate courses with over 1,500 students, and I've spoken to dozens of professional conferences and seminars and workshops. What is core to me, again, to underscore what I have addressed throughout this presentation, is implementation. At the heart of any equitable development planning, implementation is a commitment to fairness, to inclusivity, and empowerment. I will not be at this stage of my life or career involved with a client that's not committed to this. And I made that clear to the LRA, and the LRA made it clear to me, right? And that this is what the commitment to fairness, inclusivity, and empowerment means to us. And we believe in collaborative partnerships, innovative strategies, and a relentless pursuit of justice to make sure that this future, a future where equity is not just a goal, it's not just an academic expression, but a reality for all citizens in the community. Our professional value, though, is that in order to implement this, capital is necessary. And one thing that we have focused on through my consulting and teaching is, where's the money? Show me the money. Is it in Washington? Is it in the State House in Boston? Is it local? And is it private sector? And we focus on finding those funds and financing to make equitable economic development plans a reality. Just very quickly, in Jamaica Plain, where I grew up, I did a plan that talked about the reuse of one of the original breweries, the Half-a-Ruffer Brewery. As you may know, that Jamaica Plain in the late 19th century, right up until Prohibition, had dozens of breweries, and one of the last buildings that left, as you have mills, we had breweries in Jamaica Plain. We were able to come up with a plan to purchase the brewery, and today it is a small business incubator and complex, and it is made up primarily of local businesses, many of them immigrants who have created businesses and are located in that brewery. In Fort Lauderdale, we prepared last year an arts and culture plan for an historic African American community, and today we're seeing implementation and development, and for the first time, development in this community by a person of color versus non-minority developers who have been doing gentrifying development in this community, and resulting in a mixed-use project with workforce residential units and commercial space for creatives on the first floor of local entrepreneurs. And finally, something that, if you bear with me to boast for a moment, 30 years ago, I put together the plan for the Massachusetts banking industry to create a affordable housing investment corporation called Massachusetts Housing Investment Corporation. And today, 32 years later, they have invested in 850 development projects and have financed over $3.2 billion in affordable workforce housing and equitable development throughout the Commonwealth and now in Rhode Island and Connecticut. And my other client that I work with is the Mass Housing Investment Corporation, and working with them on their next plan in terms of doing equitable development. And I'll close by saying that I do this in conjunction with another firm, this work, and for the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority, and it's Stantec. And Stantec is as small as I am, Stantec is large. They're a national corporation. They do engineering, they do architecture, and they do planning. They have an office here in Boston. And that's, their clients include, in Brockton, they have helped in terms of their urban renewal plan and have created a number of new projects in downtown Brockton. I don't know if any of you have been in Brockton recently, but that community has changed dramatically in terms of their downtown and the implementation of their urban renewal plan. They've completed 2 new parking garages, attracted a number of new businesses, including restaurants, a brewery, and a museum. In Boston, Stantec was involved with the redevelopment of the Bunker Hill Public Housing Project in Charlestown, as well as a major multi-use project in the South End. They have worked as well in other projects very similar, and this is why I picked these, in Tampa, in downtown Tampa, in Memphis. They have worked on the downtown Memphis plan as well. The team is working on with the LRA and the plan for the downtown. I'm the project director. Allison LaFleur from Stantec is our project manager. Allison is also the chair of the Massachusetts chapter of the American Planners Association. She has worked on numerous urban renewal plans in the Commonwealth, including Brockton, Attleboro, Fall River, and other communities. And finally, David Dixon is a senior advisor, and the slides I showed you about the trends in downtown, David is one of the key experts, or I consider the national expert, on what's going on in downtown and downtowns across America and the changes, and how do we take advantage and meet those changes as well. Thank you. I appreciate the time that you've afforded me. I know it was a lengthy presentation, but there was a lot to cover, and I wanted to cover what the law is, what the plan that Lawrence has created, kind of the good, bad, and indifferent, if you will, the state of that plan, the role of the LRA, and then moving forward with minor amendments and major amendments. And the major amendments are the significant piece that we want to be focusing on in terms of what do we look like in 5 years and 10 years from now, based on where we are today, not where we were in 2014, not where we were in 2017. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Karas. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the presentations. At this point, I definitely appreciate the presentation and all the information that you have provided. I would like to open the opportunity for councilors to potentially ask questions in regard to the presentation, information that was presented to us, and also allow an opportunity to other members that are here or other people that are here that represent the city, perhaps, and have different capacity. At this time, councilors, I would like to open the floor for any questioning in regard to the presentation. Councilor Luzon.
Thank you, Council President. To you, Council President. Mr. Karas, can you explain minor changes, please?
Excuse me, Ms. Luzon, Councilor Luzon. For the record, we would like to read what the plans of the LRA says, what a minor change is, so we can have some clarity, because you already explained there what the law says about the minor change and the major change. But we have the actual LRA plan, and we're gonna read it for the record.
He went over, Council President, he went over major changes, but I don't recall.
No, minor change as well.
I don't recall him going over minor changes.
Yeah. For the record, we would like to refer to a specific page of the urban renewal.
Mr. Karas, Council President, can Mr. Karas answer the question if possible? I'm confused.
So,
And I want to hear him answer.
I want to help you out, so let me read what.
To you, Mr. Council
Jesus
President.
Christ.
Can I have Mr. Karas answer my question?
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
thank you for the question, Councilor. In effect, a minor amendment recognizes that there are certain things within the plan that need to be changed, but in order to get minor amendment approval, it has to be very specific in the plan already. So, in this case, with a minor amendment, it is within the plan that says that the LRA is able to have properties transferred from the city, and also then the LRA can determine the use of those properties and the disposition of those properties. In order for that to happen, though, because it's in the plan, you already approved, the city council and the mayor and the community has approved this plan and said, it's okay for you to do this, all right, to dispose of city-owned properties, all right? But now we have to go to the state and say, we have specific properties that we want to, transfer and that we would dispose of. So that is considered, we believe, a minor amendment. The state could come back and say, well, we agree with you on 10 of them, but 2 of them, no, the way we read it is you need a major amendment. But it is our opinion that the 12 property transfer would be a minor amendment. The power of doing this is already vested in the LRA by the plan that's been already approved.
Thank you, Councilor Luzon. I would like to call the city attorney to clarify a few things before we continue. The city attorney from the city of Lawrence, please.
Council President.
Give me 1 minute. Let me open the opportunity for the city attorney.
Good evening, Councilors. Tim Booton, City Attorney.
Can you clarify a few things here that was said when it comes to property transfers and stuff like that?
So, let's be very clear, and let me start from the beginning on this. My position in this is to do what would encompass a transfer. Your board, the LRA, the mayor, you're the big thinkers. You decide what you want to do, what you want to do with the property. My job is just to get it done. So I take no position on whether it's a good thing, a bad thing. That's not my job. Nobody elected me. That's not my job. My job is, how do I complete what I've asked to do? So what has been said here, I believe, is correct. There's nothing wrong. My point is, if you want the LRA to handle the property and you want to transfer the property to the LRA, there's a specific way to do it. And
Can you go over those?
I believe that it is that the city council has to vote on any property that they want to transfer, and then the mayor has to sign the deed. If either of that does not happen, it does not get transferred to the LRA, even if it's contained in the plan. The other thing that I'm a little concerned about, not concerned about, but I'm sorry, as a lawyer, I'm taught to nitpick. So when people speak, I tend to listen to little things that I may think they're wrong or whatever. The gentleman that just spoke, I have 2 groups of property, which is Exhibit A and Exhibit B in the thing. What it's saying is Exhibit A is property that's contained in the plan.
The plan was approved in 2016 by the
Right.
city council.
And Exhibit B is land that's not contained in the plan. So as the gentleman just said, if you want to put the property in Exhibit B, which is not contained in the plan, it would be, his words, extending the boundaries. Extending the boundaries, by his words, is a major change. So the last 3 properties, the Summer Street property, the Tumbarello property, I believe would require a major change. I'm not an expert on it. I'm just going by what I heard here. Because it extends the boundaries to property not enclosed, it would be a major change. Again, whether it's a major or a minor change doesn't make any difference to me. All I'm trying to do is, if the city wishes to transfer the property to the LRA, what is the correct method?
And you just state that.
Anything the state tells regarding major or minor transfers does not affect my position. The state can say all of these are minor transfers, but I still believe that we have now designated certain properties, and the way to transfer them to the LRA is to have the city council vote on them and have the mayor sign the deed.
So independently of what the state says was a minor or major change, the property still need to come in front of the city council for the city council to vote on the transfer of those deeds. And the mayor need to sign on the transfer of those deeds.
So, let me give you an example. Let's assume that the state says that everything is a minor change. So now all the properties in the LRA are in the LRA.
On the urban renewal plan.
All the properties are in the plan, the redevelopment plan. If the mayor never signs a deed, that property never goes to the LRA. It doesn't matter what the state said. State said it's a small change, a big change. If we don't deed it to the LRA do not receive it. So there's a second step that must take place. There has to be deeds. And I'm saying that the proper way to deed it is to have, to make a presentation. You see this lot here? This would make a good developable lot. Why? Here's the reasons. The city council hears that argument, says, I agree with you. That sounds like a wonderful thing. We take a vote. Lot number 7, we vote to transfer the LRA. Then the mayor agrees, I mean, the mayor might not agree, and then the mayor signs it. Then it's properly transferred. Whether it's contained in the plan, not contained in the plan, that's not my job in this. My job is that if the city decides to transfer property to the LRA, we want it to be legal, binding, so that when they go to sell it to a third party or develop it by a third party, they have clean title. That's
And then that require a vote for the city council and a
that is-
signature for the
That is
for the
my
mayor.
position, again.
Yep.
Others
Just
may-
for the record, I would like the city clerk to read what it takes the minor change on the plan and a major change on the plan what was approved in 2016. So it read as follow. Madam Clerk, do you mind reading section 6.63 of the urban renewal plan? Yeah, minor change and major change.
This is section 6.5 of the urban renewal plan, references to this Code of Mass Regs, CMR. It references 760 CMR 12.03 that talks about the process for future plan changes. And it refers to a minor plan change as the LRA may make a minor plan change through a resolution. Minor plan changes do not substantially alter the provisions of the plan. Minor plan changes include the following: correction of typographical errors, modification of proposed language of zoning changes and design guidelines to be consistent with the language approved by the City Council. Major plan changes. A major plan change involves more substantial alterations of the underlying plan and, as such, require a more complex approval process. The process for a major plan change is the same as was followed under the procedure to this urban renewal plan: evidence of a public hearing, certification of conformity with existing plans by the planning board, and approval by the city council. All affected redevelopers must be notified and given an opportunity to comment.
We just read what a minor change and a major change of the urban renewal plan that was approved in December 2016 by the city council, and it's a current urban renewal plan. What we hear before was what the law intakes of a minor change and a major change, but not necessarily what our plan or the urban renewal plans intakes.
The bottom line, and I hate to be this blunt, it really doesn't matter what you think. It really doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the state thinks. If the state thinks it's a minor change, it's a minor change. If the state thinks it's a major change, it's a major change. So you and I may have our opinions, and that's why they submit it to the state. They'll make the determination whether it's a major or minor change.
No, I agree with that 100%. At the end of the day, even though it's a minor or major change, doesn't matter. The property needs to come in front of the city council for the transfer of the property, and then subsequently a signature from the mayor to be ultimately right.
Again, that's the position of the city attorney's office.
All right. Councilors, Wendy Luzon, you still have the floor.
No, thank you, Council President. I don't have no more questions.
Councilor Vice President Infante, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have a question for perhaps the chairman of the LRA, but I do have a comment for the city attorney before he sits down. Every time we talk about the LRA, there's language that is used about I'm not elected, I'm not this, I'm not X, Y, and Z. And I understand that, and there's kind of like this hostile attitude or vibe when answering questions to the city council. The city council did elect, confirm, appointed, hired the city attorney and the first assistant city attorney. So I want to make that clear.
I have no problem with that, and sorry, I tend to do it matter-of-factly so people don't think that I am on one side or the other. These are both city departments. I don't get involved in that. If the Department of Public Works doesn't like inspectional services, so be it. That's not my job. If they need something legally done, I do it. And the reason I say I don't get elected is because you are the people that make the decision. I just follow your decisions. It's not aggressive, it's just a matter of fact, and I apologize if my voice gets that way, but I like to state it very clearly because as my job is I pick people apart, so I expect people to pick apart what I'm going to say, so I try to be very succinct.
Thank you, Attorney Horn. Whomever, I don't know, perhaps the chairman or the LRA's attorney, it is my understanding that the LRA did submit a question to the state. Have the LRA received any answers from the state pertaining to major, minor changes, et cetera? Any information at the state, from the state?
Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, councilors. Brian Corrigan, 122 Chestnut Street, Andover, Mass. LRA council. Councilor Infante, yes, we submitted a draft request for approval of a minor amendment to the director of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. It was presented as a draft because the director, Maggie Schmidt, who we've been dealing with now for about a year, recommended that we submit it that way because it was the first opportunity that we had to submit such a request, and she provided some feedback. There were some very specific questions that she asked, maybe 4 or 5.
What did she ask?
She asked, I could pull it up if you want.
Please do.
Do you have it?
This is the time for it.
It's SCHMITT. Yeah, I will. Yes. All right, Counselor. If you want, actually,
I can read as you, but you can summarize.
you want to see the actual request that went.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
So,
as
Liza,
well.
is that the document you have before? I actually have that, so let me pull it up. But if Liza, you can pull it up, that'd be great. Council, I'll just read, I'll read my letter. I won't do it verbatim, but I'll kind of skip over some of the intro stuff. It was April 1st, I sent an email to Maggie Schmidt, Urban Renewal and Relocation Coordinator, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, concerning an amendment to the Lawrence TBD Urban Renewal Plan, Amendment Number 1. The amendment identifies 12 city-owned properties within the existing urban renewal area for transfer to LRA for disposition and redevelopment. You're familiar with those 12 properties. They're before the council. These parcels are vacant lots currently in use as surface parking. So every property that we're seeking approval for in the request for amendment is a city-owned surface parking lot. Transfer to and disposition by the LRA will provide the maximum opportunity for privately financed urban revitalization consistent with the plan. We reiterate some of the strategies that were cited in the plan, which Mr. Karas referenced earlier. We talk about the existing status of these properties, which are, in our opinion, a nuisance to the city. Surface parking, creating holes in the street wall, contributing to a sense of a lack of safety for pedestrians and cyclists. We mentioned that each project will be subject to a land use disposition agreement with the LRA, as well as any other land use controls and environmental permitting. We talk about the fact that there's a significant ongoing need for mixed-use, multifamily development in the downtown. And then basically what we got is this. So I submitted that as a draft request, and I got those comments back. Ms. Schmidt mentioned that the draft transmittal refers to future redevelopment on the transfer parcels for multifamily, residential, and/or mixed uses. And then she asked whether there are any zoning ordinance-related impediments to that. So, I mean, I haven't responded to her because I've been waiting for this particular event to take place. But we are going to hopefully respond to Ms. Schmidt very soon with a formal request. She goes on to ask about some specific properties. She questions the proposal for the Pemberton Park site, which you may all recall in the original plan approved in 2017. There was some mention of having a concert venue there. You know, it's the position of the LRA that that's probably no longer a viable use of that property because it's not going to generate any revenue for the city. And then you'll notice, I think in bullet point number 4, she's asking about public outreach and public meetings. So I've made Ms. Schmidt aware that we've been dealing with the city council. She knows that we're having a special meeting tonight. I've been very in communication with her. So, you know, I'm hoping that we make some progress tonight because I really would like to get back to Ms. Schmidt with a formal request, ideally with the support of this, of this body in some form or fashion so that we can move forward cooperatively with the redevelopment of those surface parking lots. And so that's where we stand. I hope I've answered your question. You now know everything that I know. That is the extent of the communication that we've had with the state so far.
Thank you. And no, just to clear, I understand, to make it crystal clear for the record, she has not provided a direct answer on whether or not these proposals on the parcels are major or minor changes.
That is correct. That is correct. And since you mentioned it, I just want to make sure that I clarify. If you'll bear with me, Council President cited or had the city clerk read into the record the provisions of section 6.5 of the plan, but I just want to make everybody aware, you really should read this. This is only a very brief summary of what is the process for a minor and major amendment request. This section 6.5 specifically references 760 CMR 12.03. That is the provision that very explicitly details what is and what is not a minor amendment. A minor amendment is not simply the correction of a typographical error. Just because that's cited here as something that may be included in a minor amendment change. That's not the extent of a minor amendment. In fact, the correction of a typographical error does not require any state approval whatsoever. That would be absurd to have to go back to the state for approval of a correction of a typographical error. What is a minor amendment or a minor plan change is a plan change that does not significantly alter any of the basic elements, the acquisitions, characteristics, objectives, public improvements, redevelopers' obligations, or disposition of a previously approved urban renewal plan. So it is our position that what we're asking for, and we can all disagree, we can all respectfully disagree, but our position, the LRA's position, is that what we're asking the state to approve is in fact a bona fide minor change to the urban renewal plan, because we believe that this board, this council, already approved the urban renewal plan, that these properties are located within the urban renewal plan, and just because that urban renewal plan that was approved doesn't contain a lot of specificity, we think that adding specificity to it now in 2024 does not significantly alter the plan. It just adds some specificity to it, and we believe carries forward the basic purpose of the plan. Hopefully the state will agree, but ideally, what I would really like to see is that this council would agree with us, because then the state definitely would agree. And then we'd be able to move forward cooperatively and figure out what we're going to do with these properties.
Attorney Corrigan, the bigger issue at hand, the debate that we have, is whether or not this is a major or minor change. In my opinion, I believe you were wrong in not continuing a conversation with the state, because tonight I would have felt more comfortable in my position knowing what the state thinks when it comes to this. Additionally, I saw one of the questions from the state pertaining to parking in downtown and what's going to be right now. I get calls almost every day about parking, specifically about the downtown area. It's a huge issue. I would have loved to see the LRA's response to that, if we're taking away, what's going on. But primarily, before I see Advisor Spanner, primarily, the bigger issue at hand is whether or not, he's an attorney, he can handle himself, whether or not this is a major or minor change. And the LRA should have been prepared to give us something on this.
Specifically,
Madam Vice President.
can I just,
No,
can I just respond to that,
no,
Council
give
President?
me 1 second, very quick. On the law, you just mentioned something very quick when it comes to minor change. And she was asking one specific question, and you indirectly give her the answer. On that section of the law that you mentioned, can you read it again, what a minor change takes?
Yes. Liza, I don't know if you can pull up on, yeah.
Here.
760
Got it here.
CMR 12.03.
But, got it, but again, there is no direct answer from the state, which is all what we are all waiting for. We all said we would love to see, to be able to move forward, because that's really the debate between the LRA and the city council. It's what's a major, I mean, even though we have the definitions, we have the renewal plan, we have everything, but ultimately, as like Attorney Hooton says, the state can come back and be like, this is minor, this is whatever, and overrule everything that we're discussing right now, or thinking, or believing. So I would have liked to see some type of answer. I would have liked to see further communication, but I also understand why it was halted, and I understand that you wanted to see how tonight progressed, so thank you.
Yeah, we agreed to halt the whole process because you wanted to have this meeting. I thought that was the purpose. And in terms of the parking issues, I mean, what we're seeking is basically ideas for improving the parking. Right now, you have surface parking lots that are not being maintained, not being well managed, not serving the community. I mean, can one of them be converted into a parking garage? These are the types of things I think that we, you know, it's not my area of expertise on these things. You probably have more expertise on that type of thing than I do. So I think your feedback to the LRA would be helpful. And then, of course, we have we've recently published requests for letters of interest on these. So what we're now seeking is feedback from the community, private investors, developers, anyone with an interest in participating in this process on what can be done with some of these sites. Can a parking garage be built? Will that be beneficial to the city? Maybe other uses instead of a parking garage. But I agree with you 100% that parking is a major issue. We're not looking to take away parking. We're looking to do something better with the parking sites that you have currently that are, we believe are underutilized. So,
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, there's a few things here that probably he'll be able to answer correctly for you.
I have one last comment before we get into that, Council President. My last comment is pertaining to the presentation. Through you, Council President. My last comment, going back to the presentation that was just shown to us about housing, how I kept hearing housing is needing housing this, housing that. I'm a huge advocate for affordable housing. We don't have enough of that. What I've seen so far in the development area is that we keep saying yes to market rate housing when that's not really the need of our community. However, my district is a little different. I do get comments, and one of the Merrimack paper site is in my district, and I know there is a huge opposition for housing in that area, particularly because of traffic going to south to north, specifically in that bridge area. Most of my constituents that reach out to me do not agree with housing in that area. Actually, just 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I was driving, I live Mount Vernon Street, I was driving from my house to City Hall and it took me 30 minutes to get here. So, I don't believe it's just housing, like how I heard throughout the presentation. And my constituents so far have been very loud and clear, and they're the ones who got me to the seat. So that's where I stand with that, specifically for the paper mill site.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Vice President, there is one thing here, Attorney Corrigan, that you were mentioning, that you were looking forward to have feedback from this body when it comes to the project. When you guys proposed, when the LRA proposed the property transfer back in 2023, the intent was to get information as to what was going to be built, and that still haven't been provided. Even though to the state it was sent out a draft letter specifying a specific project and how those properties were going to be used. I think it will be a great opportunity to actually specify each project coming from the City Council through item 38223 to develop those discussions, come up with the discussions as to what the city needs, and then incorporate the city through the City Council, perhaps in open public participation and perhaps even a public hearing, to hear the community out as of what we need, and eventually down the road be able to approve a transfer of a specific property for a specific project. But that was not the case when the item was proposed to us. We have 4 letters. We have one item with 6 or 5 specific lines of information, and essentially, I believe that getting the opportunity to discuss this item here with the specific project that is going to be developed will help out the discussion when it comes to the City Council actually approving this, or people voting in favor or against those specific projects. but so far, that haven't been discussed.
Council President, if I may, to answer that question. First of all, I just wanted to clarify that the reason why we have held the process, or the LRA board has held the process.
Just for the record, we would like to state your name and your position as of who you are, as of who you're representing today.
Yes, Octavian Spanner. I'm the executive director and / secretary of the LRA. So the reason why there was not and you were present when you as council president visited attended the LRA meeting, and it was one request in which the LRA board agreed to come before you tonight to do a presentation. We held the meeting, I forgot, it was 2-3 meetings ago, April 8th. Upon your request, the LRA board decided that it was a good idea to come before you. And before we continue with our step in terms of with the state to comply with your request. In regards to the process and concerning the different activities that, economic activities that we're gonna have at each property, that's the reason why we're submitting a letter, requesting a letter of interest of interested parties and to present to the community exactly what they are proposing. You do have an urban renewal plan that specifies the initial wishes of the community through a public participation and approval of the city council. But remember that you do also have we need to create a citizens advisory committee in order, once these proposals are presented to the city, we can have open discussions and public hearings, maybe charrettes in which they can evaluate. The Citizen Advisory Committee, I believe it consists of 25 individuals. Our recommendation is for it to be representative of the city council, that with 2 individuals from your district, each 9, plus other organizations that are working on this project, like Merrimack Valley Planning Commission should be part of it as well, and also representatives, the mayor can appoint someone as well to be on the committee. So it would be, it's not as if this process is done and its decisions are made unilaterally. We are issuing the letter of interest, requesting the letter of interest, then we will have a citizen advisory committee that would evaluate, and then all the ideas, as was proposed by the LRA board, would be presented to you as well, and we can have a discussion to see both what the experts in the field are saying, what the citizens are saying, and what the wishes of both the mayor's office as well as the city council.
Let me see if I understand you correctly. So you're saying that there's going to be a letter of intent coming from a specific project. The advisory board will review, and then it will be presented to the city council under item 38223 for the transfer of those specific properties for that specific project, and then a vote possibly to transfer those property signed by the mayor, and then continue with the project with the deed transfers. Is that what you're telling me?
We would like to hear, because when we did, we submitted the request to you, to council, to get your involvement. It was not vice versa. We requested to you because we wanted the city council to be part of the decision making. It was not this body, it was the previous body. So we did it correctly. We came before you and we went to the housing committee. There were questions that were asked. We prepared a document that was submitted through the chair, through the council, answering all the questions. I believe the city clerk, Madam City Clerk, do you have it? Was presented to you with all the questions. After the questions were submitted to you, obviously, there's other laws also on the books. And the ones are, like Attorney Tim Hooton said, the LRA is a quasi-public, it's a city, we called it the city department, but it's a city agency created by you, this body. And so when there are city properties within that boundary, and that is within the urban renewal plan, the law specifically says that that they can be transferred automatically to
Where in the law?
the exemption on 30B.
Exemption of 30B, that's different.
Well,
That's
I
everybody's
just
understanding, but we just want to find common ground as of where
Exactly.
we can actually work together and not actually going through an executive order and transfer those property through there.
But
So
that's
that's
the
basically
reason-
the cliche.
Yeah, Council President, that's the reason why we came before you through the LRA initially, to have these discussions. Unfortunately, it was during an election year, a couple of months before, and things have changed. But now it's not here or there. There's a request before that the city council has made through you, that you went before the LRA board. The LRA board, and please, the members are here, acknowledge that request.
Yeah,
As far as I
and
understand, we held everything to come before the council and discuss what's happening. I think that moving forward, you know, we are not gonna develop these properties. We're gonna ask for input from the council. We're gonna ask for input from the constituents within each individual councilor's area. And we're gonna go out and we're gonna ask people to put their money in and develop these properties. We don't have the money to improve the parking. We have to go out and we have to find and see if these are marketable in that way. So this has been the plan, I mean, through the LRA, to implement this plan that was put in place in 2017. For a number of reasons, we haven't moved forward, and we're trying to move forward at this point.
yes, Mr. Walker, is that means that since we are coming back to what originally was proposed, is that mean that the executive order signed by the mayor and by you will be withdrawn for the transfer of those deeds to the LRA?
Not as far as I know. I mean, I thought that, and our advice from council was that we were going according to the law.
Did you hear what the city attorney says?
I did.
And that's not
That's
everything,
an opinion.
basically.
Lots of lawyers have opinions. So until someone says that wasn't the proper way, it's two lawyers saying that it's not right.
One of them is the LRA attorney, and the other one is the city attorney.
They're both attorneys.
So that means that we're gonna have to, if we have difference of opinion when it comes to the attorney, we're gonna have to have somebody else come in and tell us what's right and what's wrong?
We could.
Okay. Councilors, any questions in regard to this matter? Councilor LaPlante.
First, as a courtesy, I like to, Mr. Spanner was mid-sentence. I do want to hear what he has to say, and then I'll ask my questions.
Once again, Council President, just before Councilor LaPlante.
Councilor LaPlante,
I want to hear what he has to say, and then I'll ask my questions. Go
Yes.
ahead.
By all means.
In closing of this part is, we come before you, what we want to do is compromise. That's basically how it is. We don't want to go out having a city divided. So we want to come before you, like we did before. The LRA came before you with a presentation, with a proposed plan, and now we would like to see if we can reach common ground.
yes, but in the meantime, you have an executive order that has been transferring the properties while we're speaking. Well, not now, because you guys took a vote not to accept those deeds. Yes, give me, just to answer to his entertainment. Give me 1 minute, Mr. LaPlante. I will recognize you in a second. I'll recognize you in 1 second. We have those executive order that was signed, and the council is not voting on those properties. According to the city attorney, we need to follow what the city attorney advised, and that's based on previous records. So I'm just saying, we're not compromising here because there is not the city council involvement. So I don't know how. Councilor LaPlante.
Thank you, Council President. So just a few random, all over the place kinds of questions. LRA received some monies, I believe, funding from the city council through an appropriation transfer. How much money was that?
It was a total of 2.5 million.
So city council is supporting the LRA and its mission. As a matter of fact, has provided $2.5 million worth of funding to do it. And I think that's frankly a very, very, very good faith support for an organization that had very little money and was scraping and scrapping and frankly was dysfunctional or was out of commission for a while. So I just want to make sure, Council President, that we make mention that I think as an institution, I think this council has already spoken with the purse book and has already provided the money that the mayor requested for that. I happen to think that the LRA is a fantastic organization that is so capable of doing tremendous things in our city, and I'm a huge supporter of the LRA because I think that it holds a lot of promise and things that this council, as it says in the memos that were written by your chairman, your current chairman today, there are certain things that can be done with the expertise that the LRA has that I think provides great value to not only to government but to the residents of the city. So I just want to start off with those things because I want to be supportive. We also have heard this evening, however, and I think the council president has been drilling on this for the last bit, which is we've got an opinion from the city attorney, and we also are hearing from the chairman, who says that he's having a difference of opinion from the city attorney as to whether or not a transfer of property requires city council approval. I'm of the mindset that I'm going to be listening to our council on that. I think the council makes perfect sense as to any other kind of disposition of properties. It goes through the city council. That is the very nature and the mission of a part of our core of the city council is what we do. And so I subscribe to what that opinion, the opinion that was offered by the city attorney. So whether it's major or minor, and I have concerns about that too, but I think the first threshold, the very first threshold, there's two thresholds. The first threshold is to determine whether or not, and I think I've already expressed to you what my belief is, whether or not it has to go before the council. Then we go to threshold number two, is it major or minor? Because if it's threshold number one and it's the council, everything's running through here, everything, right? If it's not, and the mayor's able to do it, then I think we go to major versus minor. If it's minor, you pretty much have got whatever you want to do. I mean, if you wanted to go forward on it, if it's a minor, you don't have to go before the council. You just do, when I say you, I mean the LRA does what the LRA wants to do. If you decide, if the state decides that it's a major, I believe that would then have to come back to the council.
It needs to go through a public hearing, public participation again,
Public-
as well as this
Public
body.
participation, and so there's two steps. Public participation, and then I'm presuming not only does it have to do that, but then the actual disposition of the property must come from the city council, as was articulated by the city attorney. So I believe that takes place. In the language from your chair, who's very eloquent, the tone of it, not an argumentative tone, but the tone of it was, we are going to empower you, city council, to be members of what we're going to grant you to be. We don't have to do this, but because we want to do this, because we want to be together on this, we want to bring you in. It's almost like we're trying to give you the olive leaf, and we're saying, no, you're not the olive. We're We're the ones that make the call. You're not giving us anything. You're not giving us or granting us authority. The authority's already vested in the city council. So I guess, I don't know where we're gonna be going with this, but let me drill with the question. The question is on major versus minor. I want to find out inside the document, because as I understand it and reading, and I've read it quickly, but I was on the vote in 2016. I voted in favor of this in 2016. Can you shed some light, or can somebody shed some light as to whether or not housing is a part of the 2017 Urban Renewal Plan?
I would have our consultant to answer. It was.
I meant 1970, the Great War was going on, but I meant
The plan does not
2017.
incorporate
Mr.
any
Karas,
acquisition
before
of
Mr.
property.
Karas answer, I would like to just make a comment, Counselor, through the chairperson.
Sure.
When the mayor brought his budget before you in terms of ARPA funding, which was the previous council, but now we have this council, the council requested for the expenditure of ARPA funding that the mayor would present a plan to you. When the mayor presented the plan that came before you, it entailed specifically activities and what they were going to be used for. Specifically, the $2.5 million that was going to be used through the LRA, the expenditure. So it was not presented requesting only a $2.5 million, but it was tied to specific activities within the document. So I just wanted to clarify about that, because that tells you exactly what the LRA board is working on. Mr. Karas?
Councilor, yes, the plan does speak to housing in many different sections of the plan. However, it is not specific in terms of any particular property or site that must be used for housing. So, but housing is certainly a goal. It's listed as a goal. It's part of the vision. It's part of the strategies. So the answer to your question is yes.
And not to be argumentative, so my understanding was that when the LRA back in that iteration moved this forward through the various 40 different meetings, 300 people or whatever the ratio was, that they were really focusing on economic development in those corridors and less interested in the housing section. I think this is why you made the impassioned presentation where you said this is outdated. You said we need mixed use. We need more people is what you said to us during the presentation, because that's going to be the engine by which the economic development occurs, right? I believe that's what you said. So you want to see a change, because if that was truly a part of the plan, you wouldn't see a change. You would just accept it as it is. But clearly, the plan doesn't have it like you think or as you want it to be, because you want to make some fundamental systemic changes to this plan because it doesn't reflect 10 years ago. And by the way, I believe the arc, according to the plan, is 20 years. So this plan that was adopted in 2016 or 17 has a 20-year arc to it. So we're still very early. I mean, we're maybe at the halfway point. This was ratified in 2017. What year are we in now? 2024. So we're less than halfway through.
Thank you, Councilor. I agree with you. If you don't mind, I respond. Thank you. I agree with what you said, and the issues around housing, around economic prosperity and sustainability are certainly foundational in the 2016-2017 plan. What I see from an objective point of view, before I was a paid consultant to the LRA and looking at this plan, is the effective implementation. And when I put that slide up there with the question marks, it was a loaded statement. Nothing's happened. Nothing. It is a requirement in your plan that every year that there is a review of the strategy implementation. all right? And it doesn't take much to do this review because nothing has happened. None of these strategies have been effectively implemented. So to me, I understand that there's this difference of opinion about the mayor transferring properties or not transferring properties. You know what? It's like a psychiatrist would tell you, this is your crisis today, but this is nearly not the crisis. The crisis is the implementation of the future of your downtown in this city, all right? And you need to, pardon me, I would respectfully say that the city needs to move on to effectively implementing the viable parts of the plan that were passed in 2017, update the plan, and come up with new strategies for implementation.
Just add, and thank you, I appreciate the explanation. Let me just add that Stantec, which is who you mentioned or part of the team, I believe if I read the report correctly, Stantec was part of the team that presented the 2017 report that the council president submitted or sent to all of us. So they're still members, and I guess they must have found a religion somewhere because now apparently they've changed their view about how we should develop as a city, because this is what was presented to us 7 years ago, and now things apparently have changed.
Just for the record, Councilor, Stantec was like the fourth consultant, sub-consultant, if you will. This plan was not put together by Stantec. They played a very minor role, and this is not something that I would say is a Stantec plan that was created in 2017.
Okay.
I'm not criticizing the plan from 2017. I think it's a solid basis. What I'm concerned about is what has happened post-plan, and nothing has happened post-plan.
I hear the big picture, the smaller picture. We wouldn't be in this pickle right now if this plan was more precise. If the plan said in 2017 there's going to be a transfer of property to the Merrimack paper and the 3 other properties on Common Street and the one on Essex and blah, blah, blah. If the plan had that specificity, and I as a city councilor who was sitting over there, all right, with the council president, vice president at the time, was sitting there at that time, you know, my vote would probably be somewhat different. But that was not what was presented to this city council. It's just like your LRA. We're just in a different iteration of it, but we're still the city council, and that's still the LRA. But that's what was submitted to the council back in 2016/17. And so that's where many of us hung our hat on. Because if anybody's been listening to me over the last X number of years, you know my position on housing in this city.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I may be way out there, but I agree with a lot of Councilor Infante's constituents. I may have called her up and said, hey, stop it with this Merrimack Pager thing. But, so, no. But the point here is that there was an understanding and a reliance on the information that was provided for us at that time, and it hasn't. So let me ask you this question. So as we're looking at trying to provide what you believe would be a very good catalyst for positive change in the city of Lawrence, an economic boom, right? And you're providing all that stuff. I'm going to go back to housing. Can you, I've yet to see anybody with a number, and it's the first time I'm asking this question publicly. Do you have an understanding as to what is a good level of a population in our city that we can handle and be vibrant and thrive? Is there a target number that says, man, after you go over this number, you're diminishing your returns, you're going to be more negatively impactful, but up to there, you got a sweet spot. You've got X number of growth. Has anybody done that analysis? Because what we're about to do right now, if we say we have no control over this, and this goes right to the LRA, there's going to be a lot more housing. So the question is, has there been any thought about what that number is?
I have not done that analysis, and I haven't seen it done for Lawrence, but certainly that would be part of the work that we would do moving forward for this action plan that we're proposing, the major amendment. If I can comment on that, though, it's like, if you saw in the newspaper the other day or the news, Mayor Wu in Boston talked about projection of 40,000 new jobs coming to Boston over the next 5 years or 10 years, all right? That's 40,000 more people that will be in Boston. My immediate reaction was not to celebrate that. My immediate reaction is that means there's 40,000 more highly educated people, high-paying jobs that are going to push the residential neighborhoods either further or away, all right, in terms of the affordability issue. So that speaks directly to what you just brought up, Counselor. I would say there is a certain threshold that creates economic pressure on the existing residents. So the balance is here, how do you grow a downtown? How do you create a viable downtown? Yeah, we want to bring in the millennials and the high-tech folks and all of those, but to what extent do we balance that with the needs of the vast majority of the people in Lawrence who are struggling paycheck to paycheck, all right? That's a fine balancing act, and that's why the need is so urgent for specificity, as you said, and I agree with you 100%. There was not enough specificity in the 2017 plan. It created what we call an action plan. Is going to be based on specificity. It will deal with issues of how much growth is too much and what is the negative impact of growth that can have on existing residents. I don't have the answer to that. I'm not sure if anybody in this room has any answer, but we collectively need to do that.
And I think that's my point. We don't have the answer to that question because no one's done that research. And maybe with a 2.5 million, maybe that would be a good place to spend some of that money to see if we're really going to be doing redevelopment authority and we're really going to be adding housing. That would be a good barometer as to how much more we should, if at all. And then you can make your argument.
Mr. Octavian, you have an answer for Councilor Plant?
Yes, through you,
All right.
Council President. We have submitted, as a matter of fact, day before yesterday, wasn't it, that we submitted for the grant, for the study, for the development appraisal. That includes the market study as well.
Mr. Octavian, now that
Yeah.
you mention appraisals, there is something on the plan that it will be added to the record that refer to the appraisals. So once you finish, we would like to read something
Yes,
regarding that.
and I would like to make another comment. Recently, and I think you are aware, as legislators, or this body, that Dover Act is a subject that is being spoken about. Yes, Dover Act. And I don't know if the council is very, Lawrence is being targeted.
Oh, okay, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Lawrence is being targeted, so if we have concerns about affordability, affordable housing, that we don't want housing, we need housing. We need a balanced housing, and that's what we have always said, a balanced housing, meaning balance between housing, commercial, retail, for us to have, and workforce development. But Lawrence is being targeted for shelters, for homeless, as well as migrants. You don't have that power to say no. You can send a letter to the state, but this body, nor anybody, nor the mayor, has the power to do it. And right now, we have 2 requests, applicants, that want more shelters in the city of Lawrence. I want you to make that aware. So if we don't have redevelopment in the city and other affluent communities, they're saying that their property value is too high, so where are these shelters going? So we don't have development in the city, that's what's gonna happen to Lawrence, unfortunately.
I want to really use
Councilor
my time,
LaPlante.
Council President. I just want to bring it back to my first point, which is I want a vibrant, strong LRA. I was the LRA chairman for 10 years. I understand the possibilities that were able to go through that. I think other members of the council have been on the LRA as well. And I think, and we have alums as well who are now in the state legislature who are on the LRA. So there's plenty of goodwill and people who are supportive, through you, Mr. President, of what the mission is. But it's just the details of getting to that point. That's the point that I think that I'm hearing from the council president and perhaps others on this, on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Plant. Any other councilors that would like to ask
Council
questions
President.
before I go to the second round of questioning?
Council President.
Yeah, Council Mamo.
Not necessarily a question, but I want to make it very clear, and I think it's safe to say that all of us in this chamber, we are for.
Click.
I'm holding it down. It's green. Oh, okay. we are for seeing the city progress and prosper and flourish. We want to see the mixed use. We want to see more. I would personally love to see our own loop, our own Tuscan Village. I concur with our Madam Vice Chair in saying how, you know, I do agree that, you know, housing is an amazing topic to touch on, but I don't see how it's reflecting to the needs of the residents in our community, and how developers, when they come into our community to buy up these parcels, do they keep their promise in actually helping the residents that actually need affordable housing? My main concern is that developers come in and they want a high return in their investment, and in order to do that, they focus on residential properties and being able to rent out these units because it's a guarantee, it's a guaranteed profit, as opposed to taking a chance on this city in creating an amazing workforce development, in creating a strong economic development within our community, by opening up businesses and helping entrepreneurs and wanting to invest within our community. I don't see how we are uplifting the people within our community to invest in our community. So with that being said, I was reading Eric Walker's, I was seeing your correspondence, and I was seeing how within this correspondence, you were explaining why it would be best for the LRA to oversee the transfer of these parcels. And in one of the sections, it is stating how, due to the fact that you are an independent body, but it's because of that independence that concerns me. The independence of the fact that I'm concerned with the privatization of these parcels. Because I believe when you came up at the mic, you said the city doesn't have the money to be able to develop all these parcels. What was that? Correct. So now my question to you is, then what is the proposal? If the city doesn't have the money, then what is the proposed plan on how the development of all these parcels, what would that look like? How would that take place? And then I'm gonna end my little speech by saying that, each one of us here, having a seat as a counselor, we have been elected by our constituents to be a representative and a voice for the residents in our prospective district. And each district has its own challenges that require different solutions. Where one district, it may be great to see additional residential properties, versus maybe my district and District B, it would be amazing to see more of that economic development being heavily focused on. Which is why, seeing that a lot of the questions that Councilor LaPlante was making, is the questions that he was asking, is why I'm intrigued in proposing that this is the reason why the city council has to have a say and have to have an opinion as to what would happen, what is going to be the project, the proposed plan for each one of these parcels.
Yeah, I don't think that we've privatized anything.
So Walker,
Yes.
you might respond if you have an answer for that.
The LRA is going to be basically a holding for these properties that are underperforming, in our opinion. I live here. I bought property here. I need it to prosper. I need it to improve, or I'm in a world of trouble. I've invested in a very personal and absolute way to this city. And I think that the LRA has been seeded with $2.5 million. We are on a timeline, and we've answered the city council when called. We've held up our process when asked to, okay? And we have to go and we have to organize these properties and market them to developers. And then once we get proposals from these developers, we have to then go to the city council, the mayor, the constituencies to approve what's going to be right for the city going forward. So I think that it's very important this be a safe city, which it was not when I moved here. Property values are up, but they're not up in line with Methuen and Andover, which they should be. We have a beautiful downtown. We have historical buildings here. We have a rich history going back to the manufacturing core of this country. So I think the discussion is, how do we move forward with these properties? You know, how are they deeded so it's appropriate? Who has the, when we started this process, I thought according to the development plan that the transfer would be appropriate in as much as getting development in the city. You know, the LRA is not going to develop these properties. We can't. We're going to get developers here, and then we're going to go out and we're going to look at their plan and approve the proper plan moving forward.
So, okay, if you don't mind giving an example with one of these parcels, there's gonna be an RFP process.
Right.
And with this RFP process, a developer would purchase this parcel, like?
No, they can't purchase the property. They have to be, there has to be an approval
So I need you to,
process.
I need you to break it down for me as to what does that, what would it entail, what does it look like?
Through you, Council President. The Councilor
Mr. Spanner.
Marmol, first of all, I wanted to add of how these properties are going to be. The purpose of the LRA is to seek different financing mechanisms to leverage resources. And within that document, it says and it explains, if I'm not mistaken, that what the LRA can do versus the City Council. The LRA has the potential in having also leveraging municipal bonds, just like mass development, just to simplify it. In terms of the process, it was like I explained before, we are requesting letters of interest, and once we obtain with 2 site visits, so we can have a meeting with developers, depending on the amount of people that are coming in, developers and investors, on May 8th and the 13th. During that meeting, or before the meeting, we already posted we advertised the request for letter of interest. It's on the city website as well, and it's being published at the American Planning Association and Urban Planning Institute, as recommended by our consultants for us to reach out to as much other developers as we can. Once we obtain after the meeting, we will have them look at the urban renewal plan, because that document is the guiding document as to what the people have decided. I'll say the people, meaning the LRA that prepared the plan with public participation, with the approval of the City Council and the blessing as well from the then mayor. And that document is the guiding document that would explain what the wishes of the community was. Obviously, we are still in the process, and this process of amendment, we're gonna move forward with it tomorrow. We had this meeting tonight, and we will continue with the process because the plan has already been approved. So the plan from 2017 that was approved by the city, was prepared by the LRA, approved by the City Council, and approved by the city, by the state, we are going to move forward with that project. If there's any amendment, the request is to make certain amendments. In the meantime, if we get a response through a letter of interest from the different developers, then what we're going to do is we're going to issue an RFQ based on that document, the TBD that is called, the Urban Renewal Plan. Once we have the developers presenting their proposal based on that document, we're going to have a citizen advisory committee consisting of 25 individuals that will participate in let me call it a charrette, or a public hearing organized by the LRA so we can get community input as required. And it's recommended in that document as well. Once we have that information, what the LRA was suggesting is to bring it before you. That was the whole purpose last year. It was not this body, but it was the previous, it was not the same members, but the previous city council. That was explained to them that we were coming back to you and present the findings both in terms of the amendment, what was proposed by the developers, the opinion and remarks and opinion of the public or the Citizen Advisory Committee, and then present that to you.
Thank you, Mr. Spanish. Any other questions? We have something for the record that we would like to read, and that's yes, we're gonna read something on the urban renewal plan for the record, and then we go from there, and then I go back to you. Madam Claire, do you mind reading section 4 or part of the section 4 of the urban renewal plan?
Sure. This is in section 4, it's 4.1, subsection A. It talks about property acquisition, permitting, and development actions. It reads, the LRA is considering acquiring 4 categories of parcels over time. Parcels by purchase or donation for street improvements, parcels currently owned by the city by purchase or direct transfer, parcels that are in or anticipated to be in the tax title process undertaken by the city for parcels with significant tax liens, 1 or more privately owned parcels on Essex Street for a catalyst project as defined in Section 3 objectives. Prior to acquisition, the LRA must conduct an appraisal of the property. 760 CMR 12.04 requires 2 appraisals for acquisition. This plan would be amended by a major plan update, and the initial appraisal must be included in the updated materials. No appraisals are included in this urban renewal plan as no properties have been identified for acquisition. The current assessed value as determined by the city is shown in Figure 1-9C, Section 1 characteristics.
So with that said, Madam Claire, there was a conversation before saying that properties were transferred through a vote when the vote was taken back in 2016, and on section 4 of the plan it's specified that no property has been acquired under the plan. Councilor Reyes.
Through you, Mr. President. Just a comment because I see a lot of concern about affordable housing. I want to express, I do. Yeah. I want to express because I'm being a part through different community meetings for the last 5 years. The affordable housing is a need. Every resident be a part. It doesn't matter what topic we bring to the meeting. They mention we want to see more affordable housing. We want to see more housing development in our community because when we have some development and we have some community meeting and the people attending, we have, for example, 20 apartments open or ready to the people apply. But we receive and we see the people there to asking for their application. Yes, more the 100 people at the same time asking for one application for find out affordable housing. I think we need to describe what does that mean for the development. What does that mean affordable housing for them? Because I know they need to do a combine the affordable housing and marketplace rates, but I want to mention that. Affordable housing is the need in our community.
Thank you, Councilor Reyes. Any other councilors before we go to the second round of questioning?
Council President, yes, through you.
Councilor Levy?
I don't know who can answer me the question, but I just hear that the LRA has to sell all the properties.
What? Councilor Levy, do you mind repeating the question? I couldn't hear you.
If every LRA, any property has to be sold by the LRA. Or
If
they
we-
can
if
keep
we-
it and develop the property.
So if we transfer the property to the LRA, can they sell the property? That's what you're asking?
Yeah, they have to sell the property. They cannot keep it by themselves.
Octavio, Mr. Spana.
Through you, Council President, to answer Councilor Levy's question, there's different development agreements that could be reached once the LRA owns the property. One, it could be sold, or you can work a development agreement in which the property could be leased for, let's say, 100 years. Or depending, it could be, let's say if the developer wants two properties or they are budding properties, then that could be, one could be leased or one could be sold. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Karras? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so I stand correct. So but there are two properties, and that's why I called Frank. Where's Frank? Because you participated in the meeting as well. Recently, we had it was not a legal opinion, but we had a meeting in regards to the Tamborello site. You know both Tamborello site as well as the Merrimack paper site. There's funds that are being used, I think federal dollars as well as state dollars to clean up the property. Those two properties, to my understanding, and I want that clarification, in which once those two properties are cleaned, the city cannot remain in control of those properties. They need to be sold.
Clean by who?
Councilor Levy, the city of Lawrence has been cleaning those two properties for the last 8 years
Yes,
or more.
Council President, I know that it's a cleaning, but who is cleaning? Is the city of Lawrence who's cleaning the property, or is some state department?
The city of Lawrence is
City
been
of
cleaning the
Lawrence.
property.
City of Lawrence?
Francisco.
Francisco
But
Cirillo.
Tombarello is not a
Councilor
city
Levy.
property.
Councilor Levy. You
Francisco
introduce
Cirillo,
yourself.
Economic Development Director for the City of Lawrence, 360 Merrimack Street. Tamborello is what's considered a brownfield site, which is a contaminated site, which means that if we were to sell Tamborello right now to any developer, they don't have exempt status. That means they would have, the time will start ticking for them to remediate the site as quickly as humanly possible. City has that privilege. If the city at any point starts selling off pieces of Tamborello, the city loses exempt status. And the city is gonna be liable to start remediating the site as quickly as humanly possible. That's why Tamborello is still within the remediation. We have agencies that are right now looking at the remediation site. And remediation is not just removing no contaminated land, is capping contaminated land and redeveloping contaminated land. So we're looking at what actually can go on the site of Tamborello. No housing.
Yeah,
and
but
we're looking at industrial site.
it is important to recognize that for the Tamborello site to be added to the properties going to
It'll
the
be a major
LRA, that should be a major amendment. So
It is a
that's
major
not part of the proposal right
Correct.
now.
I understand that Tombarello is going to be a major plan that has to be done in there. But you mentioned something that's, when it's clean, cannot be housing in there?
No. The contamination in Tamborello is too high for public house, for any
It's
kind of housing.
practically the same way that Marston and Canary Street, that area that was contaminated, and after a couple of years ago, yeah?
The Oxford paper site?
Yes, that area that was converted in parking and.
So the site you're looking at is where the old test center
Yeah,
is
yes,
for
yes.
COVID. So the site that Councilor Levy is talking about is the actual, where you see where the parking lot. So that's called a cap. That means that underneath that is contaminated land. So you don't have any development on top of that. The moment
that's opened up, now we have to remediate the land. That means that we have to, you don't know what's under there, but you're gonna have to clean it all the way till you get to levels of cleanness.
Unless it's parking.
Unless it's parking. But that's still within the same.
What,
thing
but
of-
this
of
is
being
what it
capped.
is right now, practically. Well,
It's a
no,
parking
it's
lot,
no,
yes.
yes, it's parking
So if you
there.
want to build a garage there, you can, but you have to build up. You can't build on top of that particular area where it is housing. That's why the housing is in the old.
So this is the
stone mill.
same problem that is going to happen right now in the Tombarelo side.
That's what we're working to remediate that, but there's no kind of housing going in the Tamborello site.
So can be using for parking,
We're
Tombarelo.
looking for industrial.
Industrial.
To create it into an industrial site in order to attract new businesses into the city of Lawrence. But remediation is the first key step before we do anything, and that's looking at what the contaminants are. It's high, as you can see on the site. So there's 2 sites. The green site is the big area, and that's the most contaminated site on the Tamborello site. And the front, right there, still has contaminants, but is the less contaminated site on the Tamborello. So it's 2 large parcels. So what we're looking to see was what kind of businesses we could put there after remediation. Somebody made a comment about parking. This will be a good spot where you could put on a parking garage as well. But we have to look what industries we have within the city that need to expand, or what kind of business we want to attract. But the first step before anything is some of the remediation to get the levels to a proper level before we can develop. And then on top of that, the second part of remediation is redevelopment, and is where we cap contaminated soil and how we do the development around the area.
To you, Mr. President, after the remediation, can we build parking in there?
Correct.
And over the parking, can we build housing too?
No,
No?
no.
No housing at all?
Not in this site,
No on the side?
no.
All right, thank you.
We could bring businesses there, we could make a multi-level garage, but what we can't do there,
And just the green area?
both sides. Do you highlight the other side too? What we can't do in either one of those sites is develop housing. Cannot.
It's very
Right.
sad. That's
Thank you.
in that big space, we cannot be able to
No,
make
not
it.
housing.
Not housing on that lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Levitt. Any other councilors?
Council President.
Councilor Infante.
Thank you. It's been a while since going back to what Mr. Carr's made an interesting statement about, he said that it would be a crisis if we don't take action on this redevelopment plan. Ultimately, and this is a concern that I have expressed to the administration when the redevelopment plan and all of this conversation started. The actual crisis is what's to come in 20, 30, 50 years. It's not whether or not we take action on this. It's not part of it is a thriving city, but in actuality, the crisis that we're going to face if we don't do this right is the foundation of our city. We currently we do not have the bandwidth to address emergencies appropriately. We do not have adequate police. We do not have adequate fire departments, emergencies, all of that. And that's the reality of it. I see someone shaking their head. That's the reality of it. Our foundation has cracks. And the more we add to this foundation without addressing the foundational structure, the more we have to deal with in the future. Secondly, another comment that was made, I kept hearing that we need to bring in millennials. We need to bring in millennials. There's been an emphasis throughout these conversations, these debates about bringing in other people. We're not focusing on our people that are here. I see people shaking their heads, but I am reiterating or rephrasing what I've been hearing. Another thing, Actually, I'm gonna end theirs, because I see people shaking their heads, and I want to, I'm gonna give I want to give an opportunity if someone wants to, but.
Anybody would like to answer those questions? Councilor Vice President Infante, you might continue.
Thank you. So as a being millennial myself, with only being 30 years old, I know, I speak for the millennials that.
I want to clarify.
Council Caras, Mr. Caras, Councilor Infante, you have the floor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No.
I speak for
You
the
haven't finished.
millennials that currently live in our city, and they say to me, the ones that at least speak to me, is that they're tired of seeing the city focusing on bringing people from the outside in and not focusing on advancing the people that we already have here. We are seeing another thing. Actually, go ahead, I want to hear from Mr. Caras. Go ahead.
Mr. Caras, you have the opportunity to answer.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilor, for your comment. I want to clarify, though. I said, one of the things that I said is the national trend in terms of the revitalization of downtowns or the future economic viability of downtowns is being able to serve the needs of what is a rapidly changing economy in this country in terms of people working out of their homes, and it's a thinking industry in terms of technology, et cetera. So how Lawrence wants to take advantage of that is determined within the action plan that we're proposing to do. So there's not a predetermination that you must chase millennials to move into downtown. I was trying to share what was going on from a national thinking relatives. But second, and I'm a little bit surprised, the total emphasis from the beginning to the middle to the end of my presentation was talking about equity and inclusion. Equity and inclusion, and for the residents, I will not be involved with something that does not have that as a fundamental value. And my understanding from the LRA, from the members of the LRA, for the staff, is they are totally committed to making sure whatever takes place is to the benefit first of the residents of this city. And if that means bringing in other people in terms of economic uplifting, if that's part of the strategy, that's great. But that has to be determined through the planning process. That planning process would include the public, would include the Citizens Advisory Council, as well as certainly the City Council and your approval. Because moving forward can't happen without your approval. That's the major amendment part. So I appreciate it, and I'm in agreement with you.
Thank you.
Councilor Infante, you have the floor.
I would like to hear what Advisor Spanner.
Mr.
Council
Octavio.
President, through you, Councilor Infante, I respectfully disagree with some of the statements. We are all aware that we have individuals living in basements in the city of Lawrence. We know that it's because they can't find housing. Some of them are.
They can't find affordable, because we have housing. We have plenty of housing. We have some housing.
Infante.
I still have the floor,
Sure.
and he's addressing. Oh, thank you. We have housing, but we don't have affordable housing. We've been focused on market rate housing for the past few years in the city of Lawrence.
Again, we have many people looking there. They can't find housing in Lawrence. They cannot. We know that through the Department of Planning and Development. We interact with them on a regular basis. Even when there's fire, we're trying to find places to relocate families, and we have to take them out. So I will, again, respectfully disagree with that statement. We have people living in basements. Basements right now, and I know the figure, is around $800 to $900. Our younger population in Lawrence and professional are seeking to live elsewhere because they're living whether with friends, they're sharing rooms, or they're living with their parents. What we're trying to do is, since these are city-owned properties, we have the power to leverage. And we can demand certain affordability, and it's part of the plan. That's the reason why the name equity is within the project. So.
Can you share the specifics of that so we can have it on the record? What is the LRA demanding in terms of affordable housing with these properties?
Well, remember that the city council, we look at not only at the plan, but also decisions that the city council have made. You voted on an overlay district, and that's Merrimack Valley. I believe Greater Lawrence Community Action Council has a plan to build affordable housing on Merrimack Street where Mr. Tux is. How many units? I forgot how many units? 98 units with a mixed-use development, because the mayor has met with them to speak about the plan to have smart growth. And smart growth now considers more than ever a balanced development where you don't have too many housing,
Mr. Spana.
but you also have commercial.
Mr. Spana, just a point of information there. That overlay allow housing under a special permit only.
Correct, but it allows it.
Under a special permit, which
right.
means that it will be a study behind it before that specific permit is submitted and approved.
Correct.
I just want to put that up for the record.
Council President, through you, and
Councilor Vice President Infante.
to comment, I believe that's one of 2 affordable housings within the last year compared to a list of almost 20 properties that could help actual individuals that are from the city of Lawrence that cannot afford to live in the city of Lawrence, of all ages. And we hear every district is different, every district's needs is different, but we did hear from a city at large councilor that is a topic that she's always hearing. So my hope is that when we go through this process, if this process goes through, that the LRA takes a strong stand on that and not just say okay to these developers and whatever, but to really put the needs of the city first, because I think there's a disconnect from those people that are living in basements that can only afford $800. I mean, I know people that work for the city that cannot afford the rent. That's the reality. We do not need more market rate housing. We need more affordable housing in this city.
Councilor Infante, thank you for your participation. Now, I guess that Director of Economic Development?
Huh?
The Director of
Business and
Economic Development probably have an answer for you.
I totally agree with Councilor Infante. We need to make sure we're keeping our people, especially our young people in the city of Lawrence. One of the things that we also have to remember is Lawrence is an MBTA community. So we have to make sure we are providing affordable housing to be within the MBTA community law. And we make sure we don't lose our funding for housing in the state. And Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Infante made great points about what is affordable. One of many hats I do wear, I chair a housing authority. And we looking at what we consider affordable to be affordable. We need to make sure that we are making affordable, completely affordable. That is by making sure we're doing public-private partnerships, but holding any developer that's coming in, especially in some of these sites, accountable to make sure that they're meeting those demands. And that could be something that's put in the deed restriction as well. But we gotta remember that we have to also make sure we're meeting state law when it comes to MBTA communities.
Mr. Francisco, just for transparency, do you work for the LRA?
I do not. I work for the city of Lawrence.
Yes.
Office of Planning and Development.
Yeah, I want to make sure that because I mean, Mr. Spanner have 2 functions, and I want to make sure that if you do state it for the record as well.
Council President, as I mentioned before and also publicly during the LRA meetings, LRA employees are city employees. There's no difference. We are special municipal employees, correct me if I'm wrong? There you go. And City Attorney Wooten, LRA employees are special municipal employees, correct? Okay, so
Just one thing at a time, one at a time.
for the purposes of the conflict of interest law, what the LRA has done right now, because the funds that the city council approved, which was mentioned by Councilor Mark LaPlante, was to dedicate those funds to all the activities that are part of the urban renewal plan. As common practice with all LRAs that are beginning, you have city employees that would dedicate a portion of the 100% of time that they have. In this case would be 25% that is dedicated to the service of the LRA.
So who are those people?
It's, to name a list, would be myself, the current Director of Planning and Development, the
San Francisco.
Director of Economic Development.
So Francisco, you're part of it, right?
Yeah, it's portion of the time is dedicated to.
I mean, that was my question.
Yeah.
So you part of the employee, you employee by the LRA as well?
Paid? Not paid.
No, you're employee of the LRA as well. I mean, portion of his time is through the LRA.
He's a city employee in which his portion of his time, like it is common practice and allowable by law, to work a portion of their time to implement a plan that has been approved by the city council and the state and the LRA.
No, I just want to make sure like we disclose that for the record because that's important for the public to know.
Yes, it is. It has been. I have said it publicly as well. It's documented when the question was raised. We have our grant.
Do you mind sending the council a list of every employee that have dedicated that portion of their time
and
to
by
the?
the way, just for the record, the mayor have requested that this document, that the in writing to the city attorney, as well as HR. I don't know since when. Since last year, I believe. The mayor, more or less last year.
All right.
Thank you.
No, for the purpose of discussion, that's because originally when we start talking, you disclose your position, and if anybody around that have the same type of configuration within the employee, it's good to have it for the record. Anybody else? Councilor Plant?
I can't help myself, I'm sorry, housing, and I'm gonna make this quick and then I'm gonna get out. So, housing is a regional issue. It's not just a Lawrence issue. To think that we have to saddle ourselves as a city to deal with the entire housing issue in the region is preposterous to me. So low-income housing, moderate-income market, I don't care what the housing is. We are a part of a Massachusetts, Eastern Merrimack Valley, whatever you want to call it, and it's not just us. It's a bunch of communities that have got to step up. There are communities all around us that are not stepping up as they should and they must for affordable housing. We have done. We have done very well, I think, for affordable housing in the city of Lawrence, way beyond any of the metrics that the state requires us to do. So we are, I just wanted to throw that out there, that I don't feel burdened. As an elected official, I don't feel burdened that I have to continue to produce more housing, because you know something, the very people we're representing, my fear is their quality of life is suffering. I don't care where you are in the city. If you got so many people that's jamming our school systems and our traffic, 30 minutes it took the council vice president to come here for a regular night. And that story compounds. Asthma rates are high throughout the city. We have resident parking throughout this. We're going to go through this whole crisis of resident parking because no one can park their cars. Mr. Corrigan was speaking on behalf of a client the other day about a Hearst Street project in my district, where they're going to put how many? Potentially 42 units in right where the relief's in, where the old over there. And the neighbors there are apoplectic, like, what are you doing? And they are concerned. So it's not just District E, it's District F, and I presume there are other areas too that are concerned. So I can't help myself, I had to throw that out there. But here's what I wanted, Council President, I don't know where we're going with this. So can you kind of give us a roadmap as to where we're going? Because we got the presentation, we all got our points in, I've gotten some responses back, I feel like I'm more knowledgeable now, thank you. So where are we going?
The intent of this meeting was to, as a request of a couple of city councilors that were asking for the LRA to come in front of us to reintroduce the plan from 2016 and 16, December 16, and then approved by the state in 17. To get to understand more the plan and therefore be more knowledgeable about the item that we have in front of us, which is the item 38223, the transfer of the real estate property from the city of Lawrence to the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority. With that said, I believe that we are very clear when it comes to difference of opinion, agreeable opinions, and all the things that we're looking for within the plan. I believe that there is common ground within this topic. Having an opportunity to discuss this per project and be able to allow the opportunity to the city council to vote on the transfer of the properties as per our city attorney just stated. And I believe that the mayor should be on board with the city council when it comes to this plan and not necessarily signing out an executive order to produce and transfer those property without the city council's approval. This is the intent. Once we actually get to talk about what we have in front of us, which is the transfer of the property, we'd be more than happy to talk about that. By all means, each property, each plan, and the intents of the plan to see if we can agree upon. Since it could be a difference of opinion, but since the plan didn't allow any acquisition during when it was approved, we here to actually discuss this and be able to develop an advanced conversation regarding to the transfer of the properties. Or perhaps it could be that the council do not want to entertain this motion and withdraw the item. That those are options that the city council have. I believe that we shouldn't go that way. I think that we should keep it here and open the discussion up, but understanding the importance of each of the bodies, the city council portion of the transfer of the properties, and as well as the mayor's office transfer of the properties. That's the intent. I move along what the city council desired. We did, in combination with the LRA members here present, we did what the city council want. Members of the city council, which is basically having this informational section about the urban renewal plan. Councilor Luzon.
Thank you, Council President. My understanding is that Mr. Vicers, Octavian Spiner, made a comment about the mayor's willing to withdraw it.
No, he didn't mention that.
Okay,
But
so there's
as
no
a matter of
willingness
fact,
to work together.
No, as a matter of fact, what I asked that and they say no.
No? Okay.
However, Council President, if I may,
Mr.
I would like to
Octavio.
make based on the conversation tonight, I think it went pretty well. I didn't feel there was no tension that was basically, because I can speak on behalf of the board. They came here, nobody knew what was going to happen. And I think it was very civil. I think it was something that this is a new city council. We had a previous city council that we started with, but it was during an election. It was kind of difficult. My recommendation to the body, to the city council, is for us to table the item. Let's wait for the response. The LRA would submit. So now we can move forward. We could submit the minor amendment and also initiate with the major amendment, correct? And then, but in terms of the minor amendment, we will submit it to the state, get a response from the state. Once we have a response from the state, then we will bring that to your attention, or bring it to the attention as a committee report. I don't know, the mayor's report, LRA report, and then we can untable it again and then move progressively but however, the process would not continue. We still have the the letter of interest. Then at that time, we can say how many response we received, what were the comments, all of that, and we can create a citizen. In the meantime, when we untable the agenda item, you will have an opportunity to whether adopt, accept that the committee of the Citizen Advisory Committee, we will inform you that, we created and give you the opportunity to select or present 2 candidates from each district.
Perfect. The intent is great, but the reality is another one. The reality is that we have an executive order that is currently signed by the mayor, and the space of us working together gonna directly impact the confidence between this body that we can move forward on that. Until that executive order is being withdrawn, I believe that that sense of
Council
working
President.
together, I think it shouldn't happen. Councilors, for the sense of a good sense, for the sense of a good intent of working together, I'll entertain a motion to send correspondence to the mayor to withdraw the executive order, if that's the desire of the council.
Council President,
Councilor LaPlante.
so I just wanted, Council President, with all due respect, you are really going pretty close to expressing opinions from the chair, which is prohibited by Rule 4, and I would just caution the President that
Understood.
that you're
Point
already past
taken.
it. I would like to make a motion. I like to get on the record because there's already been questions asked, and I had the same problem Professor Karras has. I can't remember the name of that new state agency. Department of Health, Livable Communities, is that?
Executive Office of Housing and Living.
That very agency is where I would like to send a sense of the city council with the following. The city council believes after reviewing its legal opinion, that it has the authority to dispose of any city parcels throughout the city, regardless of whether it's minor or major. And I want to be on the record so that at least they know that we have an opinion on that. So that's my motion.
There is a motion, but the motion is in order to send correspondence to the state through.
I may have done something wrong.
We have a motion on the table, properly second. We're going to open it
Discussion.
for discussion in
I
a
wanna he-
second.
I want to hear the city
But
attorney.
before, yes, we will get to that point. The motion, Council Mama would like to some clarity on the motion when it comes to names and stuff like that. Do you mind, Madam Claire, repeating the motion from Councilor LaPlante?
I have a motion made by Councilor Plant, seconded by Councilor Reyes to send correspondence to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, expressing the city council's opinion that transfer of real estates would have to come before.
Are required to be disposed of by the city council.
Okay.
Approval of the city council.
So the transfer of real estate, of all real estate, requires city council approval.
All right, there is a motion on the table, properly second.
Discussion, and I want to hear from the
For the city
attorney where I
attorney.
went wrong
City
with this
attorney.
motion. Where did I go wrong?
In a much more festive mood.
Through you, Council President.
I can
Thank
save you the trouble.
Okay.
The answer is going to back, and I think council, they would agree, the answer is yes. You need the city council approval to transfer the property. That's not the question. They're saying you've already given the permission. I'm saying you need to do it again.
Let-
So the answer to your question is going to come back, yes, it doesn't answer the question.
So I will retract that, and I'm going to make this motion. Please don't go anywhere. The motion will
So
be...
motion is being withdrawn.
The motion been withdrawn. I'd like to make a new motion that this city council believes that the vote that was taken in 2016 does not reflect the transfer of any parcels to the LRA.
As per section 4.1 of the plan.
Sure. That's it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that amendment. That's the motion, and that we send that to the Department of the Communities and Livable Life Community, whatever that community is. And that executive office, and that we make sure that they're aware that we believe that. That's the important thing here. The important thing is that we get on the record to a state agency that's already been communicated with from the administration or through its board or commission, that we do that. So I want to make sure that we're on the record with them, that they know that.
Can I hear a second before we entertain a discussion?
Second.
It's been properly second discussion. Mr. Attorney Houghton.
Again, I hate to be the one, but we're going to ask the governor say that we believe that cows live on the moon. Okay? The governor doesn't care. He's not going to respond to that. So you're asking an agency who might have no authority whatsoever what you believe your rights are. They might not respond. They
All right.
might not care.
I understand. In the meantime, we need to be on the record that we at least did that.
The only way I would, and not to confront my own city attorney, who I've got a lot of respect for through you, but we also understand that through a previous part of the conversation this evening, somebody said, not sure who, could have been Professor Karras, could have been the chair, could have been Mr. Spanner, who said that, or maybe Mr. Corrigan, who said that if they don't believe there's a problem, that the city council and the administration, everybody agrees on it, then they're going to let it go. But as soon as they hear that there's a bit of a question, then they're going to maybe cause. That's the only reason why I'm bringing this up, is because of that comment.
My then request would be that you inquire of the agency whether the adoption of the urban renewal plan in and of itself is an assent, they believe an assent by the city council, or as you believe, there is a further assent needed to transfer properties.
Understood. Any other questions in regard to the motion that was made? On the
Council
motions?
President.
We're discussing the motion. Yeah, the motion needs to send correspondence to the state in regard to saying our opinion when it comes to the transfer of the properties. Do you have any opinion on that?
No, I guess I'm waiting for Councilor
Councilor.
So listen, I just digested with the city attorney. I'm
Councilor Blanc.
constantly, so
Councilor Blanc.
I'd like to withdraw that motion. No.
Wait, why?
Well, listen, I'm trying to get to a good place here, because the city attorney, we pay him, we ask him to give us good advice, and that's what he does. So I am going to pay attention. So what we're going to do is this. According to the advice, as far as wording is concerned, we are going to ask, this is two parts. We're going to ask I'm going to say the state agency.
So the motion is being withdrawn, you're making a new motion.
New motion. We're going to ask the state agency whether or not, by the vote in 2016, whether or not the state agency in their review believes that it's been,
The transfer of properties contained in there, specific properties,
right,
is approved by the adoption of the urban renewal plan, or
It requires a new vote.
any individual transfer of lots require further approval of the city council.
Yeah, that's the motion.
and that's the motion. And the second part is, I think, would it be, and I'm sorry to interject this, but
No, wait.
would it also be, do you think, effective, attorney, if we also issued our opinion on what that answer should be, or do you think that's irrelevant?
Well, I mean, you can word it in the fact that, again, the question is whether they believe the adoption of the urban renewal plan signifies a consent or approval by the city council, or, as the city council believes, there needs to be a further vote.
That's my motion right there.
All right, Madam Clerk, do you have the motion correctly?
Not really. what I understand the motion to be, which I
Just
would
click the button.
definitely work on with council, council in the other sense, council, city attorney, in the drafting of it, but, that there would be an inquiry to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, inquiring whether the adoption of the urban renewal plan in and of itself is an assent to the transfer of the properties, or, as the council believes, is a further assent needed to transfer these properties. That's the motion.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion.
It's been properly second. Discussion, Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. Quick question for you, Council President, for the Senior Advisor Spanner. As we heard tonight, we want to work together. Like you mentioned, and I agree with you, this discussion went great. Is there some way, perhaps not a guarantee, but is there some way that we can at least feel confident that the mayor is not going to go and try to enforce an executive order when we're trying to work together?
I think you raised the right question, because we contacted the IG's office, Inspector General's office. First conversation that happened was with myself, Carlos, the OPD director, acting OPD director, Carlos Matos, Mr. Frank Cirillo, and we also had
City Attorney?
Liaris Reyes present.
Did you invite the city attorney?
That was the question. Staff calls the agencies all the time.
Gotcha.
I mean, the city attorney has been working alone since when? For a long time, so.
Okay,
we were
can
not-
you answer my question, please?
Yeah, I know, but, it's a comment that has been made. I need to, it's my colleague.
This is going to determine how I'm going to vote, so
Okay.
please
No,
answer the
yes,
question.
The issue is that the mayor is within his right, it is our opinion, the mayor is within his right as the mayor, as by the exemptions of 30B, to do so. Okay, we called in a letter that was signed by the LRA attorney, and during the LRA board, they met, they received the opinion and the same information that was given by the Inspector General was given by our attorney.
Is that was on writing?
They don't provide in writing.
How you provide it to the members?
Council President, may I interject for
Sure.
one second? If I may?
Sure, by all means.
I know we're all stating opinions, but I think I have a resolution to the problem. At the meeting, we came to an agreement with the LRA that regardless of what the mayor wants to do, the LRA will not accept any deeds from the city until this matter is resolved. I think if you get that.
Thank you. That's the answer to my question. We can move. That's all I'm looking for. Thank you.
I'm confused with that statement, though, because you said until this matter is resolved or until we have this meeting? Until
Again,
this
we can
matter is
state whatever,
resolved?
Till we have, that they will take no action until we have the next meeting with the answer from the Department of Housing and not Urban Affairs,
Okay.
whatever the agency is. I wish
Thank
it
you,
hadn't happened.
attorney. The rest of my case,
Councilor Infante, you have the floor.
I'm all set. I just wanted to ensure.
Any other councilors who would like to speak on the motion? All right, at this time, I call the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it. So now, councilors, we have any other motions?
Through you, Council President.
Councilor Marmo.
As mentioned several times in this conversation, you guys have mentioned the LRA and the mayor's administration wanting to work in conjunction with the city councilors in order to make this happen. And I think that the only way that you guys could demonstrate in good faith and honor this partnership that you guys are speaking of is by withdrawing the executive order to begin with. And then we could continue to work on the issues that we're having and continue to have a healthy debate. So with that being said, I propose to make a motion on sending correspondence to the mayor to withdraw the executive order in order for us to proceed.
There's a motion on the table, properly second, discussion, councilors.
Discussion?
Councilor LaPlante.
Help me understand what I think I know what an executive order is. An executive order is something that does not require any action by the city council, right? So we're not voting on an executive order, right?
No, and
You're voting on a request.
sending correspondence to the mayor to withdraw his executive section.
Okay, thank you.
That's the motion. Discussions, councilors. Councilor Luzon.
Thank you, Council President. And I was going to make that same motion because what I see here is the willingness to work together. And I think with that, if the mayor decides to withdraw that will seal this commitment that I think we made tonight. Willingness to work together for the benefit of the residents of Lawrence.
Any other comments or questions, councilors? At this time, I hear no comments, so I'll entertain I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it. Councilors, I will entertain any other motions at this point.
Make a motion to table.
There is a motion to table, properly second, no discussion on the table matters. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion. to
Councilor,
adjourn.
before we adjourn, I have an announcement.
Motion to
last night-
pass 10 o'clock.
There's a motion to
Second.
pass 10, properly second, discussion. I hear, motion to pass 10. Properly second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Councilors, we discussed last night, during the discussion last night, we made I would like to make an announcement of that, an ad hoc committee that was asked for the, council members, to be formed. On that council, we decided to go with, 3 members of the, school committee, 3 members of the mayor's office, and 2 members of the city council for the total of 8 members, to the ad hoc committee. The mayor's office will be sending 3 people, and we would like to announce their names. The first person that would like to join, that committee is Octavian Spanner, the senior advisor. Carlos Matos, the acting director of planning and development, and the chief of staff, Santiago Matias. Out of the school committee, there is going to be 3 people that is going to be joining us, that or join the high hop committee. The first person is school committee member District A, Mayra Ortiz. The school committee member District F, Jonathan Guzman, and the school committee member District E, Patricia Mariano. From the city council, we have 2 members that would like to join the ad hoc committee. The first one is Councilor at Large Anna Levy, which is the proponent of one of the proposals. And the second councilor that we would like to add to that committee is Councilor Vice President, Councilor District E, Stephanie Infante. With that said, the ad hoc committee has been formed, and they're going to be working diligently and for the next time, for the next few weeks, to give us some resolution out of the item from last night. Thank you. Councilors, I entertain a motion now.
Motion to adjourn.
There is a motion to adjourn, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.